Hi everyone, welcome to Eden Secret. It's a bit of a fresher day today here in the Eden Valley at Eden Secret headquarters, which of course is just my home. Okay, we've got a little bit of a special video for you today. I'm going to be doing a soap, some bath bombs and a batch of wax melts, all in the same fragrance, which is going to be Rose Velvet and Precious Oud from Scent Perfique. It's really beautiful, really strong, and it smells very much like perfume. Okay, enjoy the video. And also I've got these beautiful rose petals. Have you ever seen rose petals like this before? Dried rose petals, look at the size of them. And they smell fabulous. They smell fruity. Really, really lovely. So the first thing I'm doing is obviously the soap because it needs to cure. And just while I'm mentioning this, all my soaps are limited edition, so it doesn't matter which one I make in my videos. Once it's uploaded to the website and it's sold out, then I probably won't be remaking it. I know that's different to how I used to do it, but the fact is that because I want to be creative on my channel, which is what I love more than anything, I love being creative, and I actually love making videos as well. I love the editing process. I really enjoy that. So let's get started with this soap, shall we? Well, in here I've already started to blend the oils and the lye together, so we're just going to finish that off now. Now it's just time to add that fragrance in there. This Velvet Rose and Precious Oud does have a little bit of a different colour to the one that I've used from the Soap Kitchen. Actually, now I'm smelling it, it does actually smell different, I think. This is more rosy. Just giving it a stir to make sure we've got that fragrance fully blended into all the oil molecules. And now we're going to pour. Now, by the looks of it, it's not a very fast moving fragrance, which is fantastic, meaning it doesn't speed up acceleration too much. But I'll tell you after we see, once we've poured it. So yeah, it's looking like this fragrance soaps what I would call soaps beautifully. Hardly any acceleration, hopefully no discoloration, and no rising. And we're going to put the rose petals on top of it as soon as it's thick enough. It's still a little bit runny to put them on there. So the one issue I can see here is going to be the cutting of this soap. It's going to be a little bit difficult to cut because of those petals, but they are super stunning. Perfect, beautiful colour. Okay, so time to cut. They're really crunchy, these petals. Whoops. Just a beautiful, simple, gorgeous bar of soap. So I've got my bath bomb mixed up here. It's made with the Rose Velvet and Oud from Scent Perfique, and we've got some real beautiful rose petals just down here. I've got 2.4 kilos of bicarb, 1150 citric acid. I've got 40 grams of witch hazel. I've got 24 grams of fragrance and 24 grams of carrier oil. I'm using apricot kernel oil today. And the other thing is I have 36 grams of SLSA as the bubbling agent. If you don't want the SLSA, you can just take it out. You don't need to change any of the weights of any of the other ingredients. It'll still work without it. You just won't get the bubbles, but you will get the fizz. So that's what the bath bomb looks like. Now I'm leaving the lids on for the rose petal, to keep the rose petals in place. And I'm just taking the lids off and I'm popping them in those fantastic trays that the Bath Bomb Press sell. And I do love the Bath Bomb Press, it's awesome, but just getting it all out, that's why I'm not using it today. But I should be using it today. I just couldn't be bothered to go and wheel the compressor down and set everything up. So I just threw some ingredients together and just grabbed my aluminium molds. Now, people are always asking me about these aluminium molds and where to get them. They seem to be really difficult to find at the moment, especially in the 7 centimetre, which is the ones I'm using. But there does seem to be plenty of 8 centimetre ones, so I'll put a link in the description box below the video to those. And of course you can get the 6.5 centimetre, so they're a little bit smaller than these, and then you can get the 5.5 and the 4.5, and then they just go down in size down to the 1.5. No, sorry, it's 1.5 inches, the smallest one. So this size is the 2.75 inch, which equals 7 centimetres. But when I've got a lot of bath bombs to make in one day, I will be getting the Bath Bomb Press out, and it will be fairly soon because I'm really short. I'm really short on bath bombs at the moment. So how many have we got? Yeah, so I need 20 of these, so we're going to be okay. I've definitely got enough. So the full batch size that I'm using today is actually a batch and a half. No, it's 3 batches. Yeah, the ingredients that I've got listed in the description box below the video, that's 1 batch. I've had to make 3 batches to make 20 bath bombs. You might hear it's a bit windy today, and I've deliberately got the window open because it's rather warm in here, and when it's warm the bath bombs expand, and I don't want them to. And this is what the bath bombs look like unmolded. Beautiful. Those rose petals really pop. Even though they're quite big, but leaving them in the mold, you can see they're nicely pressed down into that bath bomb. That looks like a strawberry, that one. Okay, so the final part of this is wax melts. So I've got a little bag of Eco Soya melt here. I bought a 20 kilo box and the melts didn't unmold very well out of the mold. I don't know whether it's something I did or the mix is off or what. So I just bought a small bag like this to test to see if the same thing happens. So what we're going to do is we're just going to weigh And incidentally, if you're waiting for a wax melt video coming, there is one coming up soon. So I'm just going to melt this in the microwave. Okay, so that's my wax melted. But I don't have much fragrance left in this bottle. As you can see, there's not a great deal in there. So what I'm going to do is just weigh it. I've got 62 grams there. That means I can use 620 grams of wax. So let's pour 620 grams of wax, not into this jug, it's too little. Okay, so we're at 80, so I'm just going to wait till that temperature cools down. I'm warming my moulds up in the microwave because I've realised that it's best to have your moulds nice and warm. The wax really likes that if you're pouring into warm moulds. Well, the soap's white, the bath bombs are white, and I'm going to do the wax melts white as well. And I don't know whether just to put some rose petals in them or not, because they are quite big, these rose petals. I guess I could chop them up a bit, couldn't I? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, we're at 77. I'm just going to let that go down by 2 degrees. And then I'm going to add the fragrance into the wax. Okay, it's time to add the fragrance. And as usual, I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute to allow all the wax molecules to soak in that fragrance. And while that's happening, I'll just take these lovely hot wax moulds out of the microwave. probably won't need all of these. I'll just sprinkle some of those rose petals in there. Not too many, I don't want loads in there. Just make sure I get some petals on each of the snaps. And so, out of that 250 mils of fragrance, we've got 2 full loaves of soap, 20 bath bombs, and probably 7 or 8 wax melts. I'm just going to add some lovely white glitter into the mix. Time for that pour. So the rose petals are just going to float to the top. I should have known that, shouldn't I? Because I know that. Okay, you can see how beautiful the samples look with the botanical rose petals in there, and it's got a gorgeous sheen, this Eco Soya melt, and it's looking like these are going to unmold beautifully. And I think the only thing I did differently was heat up the silicone molds. I have a feeling I forgot to heat the silicone molds up, and someone did get in touch with me and said that they'd used some of the new Eco Soy melt, and a lot of the wax was left in the mold. Yeah, and that's exactly the same thing happened to me. Oops, we have got a little bit left in there. You can see in the corners just here. Sometimes you've just got to take that little bit of extra care on moulding. They are absolutely gorgeous, but again, we still do have some wax left in the corners. I mean, the only thing that tells you is that the wax I mean, it's fine. Unmolding with that much wax left in the corners, you know, it's neither here nor there. And they're still absolutely lovely to sell. And they still look perfect. You'd only know that the corner was missing if you knew the corner was missing, or if you were really, really looking for it. So that one's unmolded perfectly. Let's try these 6 here. You know, and you really do have to be careful unmolding, pulling and tugging on that silicone, which I seem to have taken a little more care over with this unmolding. It's just a case of pushing up with the fingers underneath. So that whole mould there, we unmolded absolutely perfectly. Obviously this was the same batch, so if I'd been more careful I probably wouldn't have had these this wax left over in these corners. Okay, so you just want to leave those for a day or 2 days to cure. I know a lot of people leave them for weeks. I find mine still work perfectly fine if I just cure for a day or a couple of days. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're just going to wrap them in these self-sealable bags. Just make sure we push them right down to the bottom and right over to one side. And the reason I'm doing that, it's actually difficult to get a label on there that wraps around. It's okay if you just put a sticky label on the front or one on the back with these, but when you want to wrap a label all the way around, it's a little bit complicated. It's not easy to get it on nice and straight or nice and flat. So that's why I squash them right into the corners. You know, white and botanicals always just look so lovely, doesn't it? Does this camera look dark to you? So as you can see, the velvet rose and oud I have, the customer wanted one, so obviously I've made a batch of them, but you'll notice that I did use up all of the fragrance that I had left over after making the batch of soap, the batch of bath bombs. I just used what I had left to make these wax melts. So if you do want any of these wax melts, I would get on there and get them bought as quick as possible, because I do like rose velvet nude, but it's not one that I carry all the time. Looks like she's going to have fun using them. Okay, so you're still going to need sellotape if you want to get your label on really neat, and also a scalpel or a craft knife or something just to get a slit in. So just peel your sticker off the back, fold it over as neat and tight as you possibly can, and then again just squash it in there, put a slit in the back, and then that'll squeeze the air out. And then you want to fold it over like so and put some sellotape down this edge to keep it nice and tight and neat. And then you can get your wrapper on a lot easier. And this is my label. And if you don't do what I've just done, then you're going to have like extra air protruding around the edges, and it's just so difficult to get your label on nice and neat without there being any lumps and bumps. So I just wanted to show you how I do that. Just so pretty. I know it does, because the label is sticky all the way around, that's what makes it nice and neat, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to open. So if you're buying my wax melts, I suggest all you don't need to unwrap it and it'll keep your wax melts nice and fresh. Just put a slice in one end, squeeze them up, break a piece off, and then use that piece. So put a slit in one end, squeeze your wax melts up so they sort of push out like that, and then just break a piece off and pop it in your oil burner. I'm going to continue wrapping these. And there we have the soaps in Rose Velvet and Precious Oud. You can see it has discoloured a bit. It's a couple of weeks old now and all ready to be packed. And all I do with the soap slicers is just take, I don't wrap the whole bar up in one go, I just take some strips of bubble wrap. And just wrap so much of the soap up together like so, because then it'll fit in the box. And then I'll just stick the label on there, and then it'll go in the box with packing peanuts. And for me, it really is the best way to ship wholesale: bubble wrap and packing peanuts. Because the priority is that the customer gets everything in perfect condition. And we cannot trust the couriers. We've all seen those videos of couriers just throwing boxes here, there and everywhere, very heavy-handedly. So we have to make sure that the boxes are packed properly, because if they don't get there in perfect condition, you know what happens, don't you? You have to replace them. And that is a pain. But sometimes it just has to be done. But if you do get anybody complaining, make sure you get photos of the condition that they're in so you can see for yourself. And that just gives you peace of mind that you haven't had the wool pulled over your eyes. Because sometimes it does happen, but it's very rare. I have found in all the years I've been doing this that most people are very honest. You know, and if you send them something extra, you know you're sending them something extra, but you might not write it on the invoice or something. And the people will come and say, oh, Karen, you sent me this. I wasn't expecting that. And you think, wow, people are so honest. Right, now for the bath bombs. Now for the bath bombs. I'm just going to send her those 2 extras. She ordered 20. The batch made 22, so I'm just going to send 22. Because basically, those 2 extras are no good to me, really. So what we've got here is bubble wrap already cut into squares. And that's how we'll put them. It's very, very perfumey, this fragrance. And it's very strong. It literally fills the house, well, the front end of the house, with fragrance. And I can smell it. And if I can smell it, it must be strong. Obviously, when you're making products all the time, you kind of lose your sense of smell unless something's really, really powerful. Okay, friends, so I hope you enjoyed this video. something just a little bit different with a few different products included in the video, and we'll be back soon for another video from Eden's Secret. Bye bye for now everyone.